Hey, everybody, Kevin here with Pursuing Pixels, and welcome back to another edition of Save It for the Cast, and you know the drill by now. This week it's just going to be John and I talking all sorts of video game action coming up here in just a little bit. Truly, we're all over the map. I know I say that every single week pretty much, but yeah, we've got all sorts of video game stuff coming up. I talk a little Monimals and Tinykin, get a little more into Tinykin, kind of just a little tease of both of those games. We talk a little Platinum games towards the end here, a little Flash games, Kongregate, Newgrounds, Zynga, a little Terry Kavanagh, a little Metroidvania action. Yeah, truly just all over the map. I know, like I said, I say that every single time, pretty much word for word in these intros. I try to mix it up a little bit, but when I'm editing back, I'm like, I pretty much said the same thing as always. But yeah, per usual here, I'm going to kick things off as well with some of the stuff that I've been playing as of late. Although I'm going to keep it on the short and sweet side, I'm just going to kind of rattle a few things off here. I've been doing a ton of gaming, but a lot of the stuff I do want to kind of table for when we get together with the guys next, because I know I hooked my Wii U back up. I picked up Star Fox Zero, which I've never had a chance to play, and I've been played the first like hour and a half or so, and I'm having a good time. It's definitely got its issues, and I wouldn't be the first one to say the control scheme is a little bit odd, to say the least, or at least a little bit forced. And it's like changing up with every different vehicle you have. It's a little bit frustrating, but at the same time, I'm still an hour and a half in, 5 levels into the game or something like that, and I'm definitely having a good time with it, in spite of some frustrations, partially just because the presentation is just so spot on. But I've been like popping in some random Wii games as well. Like I picked up when Randall was in town last, which is probably about a year ago, if not longer at this point. But I remember picking up like a handful of Wii games that I never got around to. One of them being FlingSmash, which is a game that came out, I believe, as like a kind of pack in with the Wii Motion Plus, or at least that was like one of the ways you could get the Wii Motion Plus attachment, or maybe it even came with the full-blown like Wiimote that had the Wii Motion Plus built in. I can't remember 100% for sure, but that was the way I was playing, with like the upgraded Wiimote that had all that stuff built right into it, so no extra attachments or anything. But I was having a pretty good time with that one. I mean, it's a pretty straightforward, like almost like a side-on like Breakout style game where you're using the Wii remote. And it's like shows it on the bottom right side corner, or bottom right hand corner of the screen. And it shows like exactly the position of your Wiimote, which is pretty spot on, I gotta say. And then you slap it in whatever direction, and you really got to be pretty accurate with it. And if you wait a certain amount of time, like your little character that you're batting around the screen, it's like an actual character, but basically they're just like a ball. But you can press like the A button to freeze them in midair, and they do like a little hop and, stop right where they're at, and pop up in the air almost like to tee it up for you. And then again, if you wait long enough, you can like smash through some of the blocks, get some combos going. There's even like a boss battle at the end of each world. I just cleared the first world, and that was about all that I had played. But really, really cool game. The presentation is just top notch on that one, for being like just essentially like a little, extra mini game. Like it's something way more than like Link's crossbow training or something like that, which, to be fair, I never really gave an actual shot playing that. I don't think. I remember it had like that extra attachment that you could hook it up to as well, or maybe that was a third party thing. I can't 100% remember, but yeah. And then last night, just for some like random gaming, my buddy Nathan, who's one of my buddy's brothers actually, but he's one of my buddies as well. And he's the one I've mentioned on the podcast. Like, he introduced us to Fire Tower, the board game. And he's the one who just like brings like his duffel bag full of all his retro systems and like party games. And in this case, it was at his house, so he didn't have to lug anything. And yeah, I think I might have mentioned a game night at his place in the past as well. Like, he's got the Jurassic Park pinball machine, which we fired up for a little bit. But it's so cool going over to his place for a game night. Like, he is probably, out of everyone I know outside of the podcast, like, he's got like all these collector's editions of not just video games but board games, and it's just so fun to like look through his collection and ask him about games that nobody else knows about. At least again, even sometimes Randall and John, like, I'll be rattling off some random indie games, and I'm like, they have no clue what I'm talking about in a lot of cases, at least before I, bring it to their attention maybe. But Nathan's like, oh man, he's already got the collector's, version that I didn't even know existed on the shelf. I didn't even know there was a physical version, let alone limited run or something like that. I'm not always up on those kind of one-off releases that you got to order from a specific website. But nonetheless, like we walked into his house, he's got the Super Nintendo Pocky and Rocky, like, a track screen playing on loop. He's got like everything set up, ready to go, board games on the table. Like I just love going over there. He's got this other, it's kind of like a version of, I want to say foosball, but it's definitely a totally different game. It's called Boccerball, basically soccer, but just with a B. And there's like basically, I think there's maybe 15, 13 like holes on each side of the, field that is still like a soccer game. And then you have like your soccer foosball in the middle of the table. And then everybody has these like, I don't know, maybe there's like 25 like metal, like just balls or marbles or whatever. On either side, and you drop those into like one of the 14 or 15 slots on the top, which are basically like a little track that the ball rolls down and then launches to the other side of the table, and you're basically trying to knock the soccer ball with these little metal balls, and both sides are basically launching them at one another, so they're ricocheting off each other, and then when the ball makes it to the other side, if it doesn't hit, there's like basically two rubber or I don't know, bungee cords or something like that on each side of the goal. So like the metal balls are small enough to go under that, but the soccer ball will always just bounce off of those. It's a little bit bigger. It can only fit under the goal. Otherwise, it's always going to stay in play, barring some kind of like fluke or something like that. But it's just such a fun, like frantic, fast-paced game. We played some 2-on-2, some 1-on-1. And you can just get pretty strategic with it. Like my buddy JP we were playing on a team in the last game that we played of the night. And he was getting he made so many saves by just like waiting until the ball was kind of coming right our way. And he'd just drop it right down that middle slot, or maybe one of the middle two. I don't know how precise he was getting with the aiming on the saves, but he made like 4 or 5 great saves. And we ended up kind of dominating that game thanks to his play. But then some of the video games we ended up playing, my buddy Josh and I did a little head-to-head on first NHL 2001. And I gotta say, I was pretty impressed with how well that game held up. Like I haven't played a hockey game in years, and I'm sure they control a lot cleaner and smoother now. Like this is like the era of like the big hits, and like, the characters have like either a big hammer next to their name or a big I guess just hockey stick to show if they have a good slap shot or something like that. And some characters have nothing, of course. But I mean, we were just, I grew up playing hockey, so we played a ton of these video games back in the day. Like in our band, Josh was in a band that I was in high school, and like we would play in our drummer's like bedroom. I don't know if it was this exact version of NHL. And even at our house with my brother, we just played so much of these video games. And I love the era when they were just like a little bit more arcadey. There's some of those annoying traits where like it's the full 20-minute time clock and it's just going in extra, you're playing a 5-minute period. So it's just like going extra fast. So like penalties only last for 20 seconds or something like that. Like it definitely has some flaws in the overall design, but on the whole, I still had a pretty good time with that one. And I thought the controls played great, and I still had my touch with those games. I used to be pretty good, and I still was able to give Josh a pretty good beatdown, and then also was able to give him a pretty good beatdown, although pretty much just thanks to one fluke hole. We were playing some CyberTiger, which this is like a very arcadey golf game that we also used to play all the time. I can't remember if one of us owned this. I never did, but we might have rented it or something. I always remember playing it at our other guitarist's house on N64, but we were playing on PlayStation here. And I really don't remember. This might be one of the first games, if not the first, that uses like the analog stick controls for the golf swing. Like I always remember this game having a golf meter, in classic Mario Golf fashion, where you click it once, click it again to set the power, and then click it again for the accuracy. That is definitely not the case here. You pull the joystick back and then pull it forward, or fling it forward to try to accurately emulate a swing, if you will. I personally am not a huge fan of that control scheme because it's just too hard to control like the power. Like it's fine if you're doing like a drive, or even a putt is like okay, but if you're doing like a chip shot or an approach where you want to go like a 75% swing or something like that, like I know that's part of like the challenge is to get that swing down, but like to me it's just such a little, it's such a subtle little difference between going 75 or 100 or whatever. I never have loved the way that control scheme works, and that was pretty much what screwed Josh over, and we couldn't figure out. Apparently I was reading up a little bit about this before I jumped on here to record the intro. Apparently you start out as like kids in the game. Like it's a kid version of Tiger Woods, because I was like, I'm playing as this like teen version of this character, Teen Inga, and I have like a 225 yard drive, which was like 40 yards further than what Tiger Woods could do, which made no sense. And Tiger Woods was teeing off from the women's tees when we were playing, and I was teeing off from just like the regular white tees, which are like what, you know, if I would play on at like a standard golf course as like somebody who doesn't really golf, you know, that would be like my default tees to play at, but not like the professional tees or anything. But it was just like a really weird game that has so much more jank than I remembered it. Like even like the elevation for the putting, like you press a button and it just like over exaggerates all the like slopes, but just for like, you know, a second or two maybe at the most, and then it just goes back to normal, and you have to just kind of memorize like the lay of the land, if you will, or where you want to put it for the putt. But it's just it was I still had a lot of fun playing it. We gave up like maybe 2 holes before we made it through the 18, just because Josh ended up getting like an 11 on one of the holes after slicing it into the trees, but he hit it like perfectly straight down the middle, at least based on like the feedback in the game. Like it even did the like smoke trail behind the ball to show that he like ripped it. So I really don't know what happened there, but I was planning on talking about a handful of platformers that I've been playing, like kind of precision single screen pixel art platformers, but I think I'll save those for another time here, because I've done more than enough rambling. I've also been playing a ton of Pixel Junk Monsters, which has been reminding me a little bit of Kingdom, actually, just like the overall loop to that game, the original Pixel Junk Monsters, that is, even with like the coins and the gems. And I know Randall's been playing some Kingdom. So I'll probably just table that for now, along with the pixel art platformers. And we got a nice, pretty meaty conversation coming up with John and I in a few separate little chunks. On that note, I'll kick it over to John and I, and until next week, we'll catch you then, and take care.
I don't even know what like point I was trying to make there. It was just like, I can so clearly picture like so many of those games that like I don't remember a single name of them, but like I remembered like putting a ton of time into it. Like I played a ton of tower defense like games on Kongregate, and like who knows how I would be able to find any of them, or like who made them.
Right. Yeah, some of those games are just lost to time. Speaking of, I think Terry Kavanaugh just put out on itch.io like a bundle of like, it's just like this real like sketch. It looks like he just like scribbled it on MS Paint for like the cover art. It just says Terry's old games or something, and it's just like a bundle of like a bunch of his old stuff. I saw like Don't Look Back was in it, and like I couldn't see what else was in it at a quick glance. I didn't actually click on it for whatever reason.
I'm trying to think of like the thought that I was having about Birdsong specifically was how I was like, the point of comparison I had was more of VVV.
Yeah.
And like how that is my type of super indie Metroidvania.
Yeah.
Where it's more of like, you get maybe an upgrade or two. I don't know if who knows if we're going to talk about Birdsong on the podcast or not.
Yeah.
But like, I just love the feel of solving puzzles in VVV and Birdsong compared to something like Gato Roboto. Like, I think like Gato Roboto is more of like, here's a room, solve the room. Whereas like,
and we're going to power you up as you go along, but we're basically just going to give you like 4 distinct levels and then one final level at the end, is basically how that game felt to me, which is probably why I loved it.
Yeah. But like,
basically here's a platformer.
I just was listening to the episode that came out where we were talking about Strider and what was the other one? Like Haiku the Robot. I feel like there was another one as well, but like, there's an interesting through line of the types of Metroidvanias that like really click for me. And I'd like replaying all the Metroid games that I was like buzzing through like not like latching on to anyone in particular because I was like the only one I started from scratch was Prime Remastered. But like it was very interesting to be like, like every Metroid game really feels similar. And then I started watching like a bunch of like Dread videos and being like, I should go back to Dread.
I almost popped in and I was literally like toggling between. I was actually toggling between popping one of those two games in or popping in either Paper Mario, the Thousand Year Door remake, or the Origami King, which I've never played. I've obviously played Thousand Year Door, but I've never popped in the remake yet. And I was kind of just I'm like in the mood to go on an adventure, you know. That's why I popped in Prime because or any of those games, because I just felt like, okay, this is like a game that's more than like, you know, it's like an adventure, but like I just know at least Nintendo, like they know how to pace out things. Like sometimes they're a little long-winded, especially in the early going, but Metroid is a series that does not suffer from that at all. Typically, it just kind of like throws you right into the mix. You know, you got to do the thing like. Whatever. I don't want to talk about it too much here.
I know, like that's I was like, I'm playing it close to the chest. I got a lot to say.
Yeah, but they do the thing, you know, where it's like, oh, we're gonna give you everything and teach you the abilities, and then, you know, okay, now you're back to nothing. And
I will say a thing that I only noticed in watching people play, like, because there's a person who was doing a 0% run on Dread, which was basically picking up no expansions on missiles and health tanks, and like just getting the like things the upgrades that you would need to advance the story. And it was them doing like the final boss with like one energy tank and like 15 missiles, and like,
my God,
it was brutal, but it was just like nailing every single counter, like dodging every single attack, and like just doing it perfect precision. And like, even though they said it was like, this took 4 hours to do, like just this boss battle. And I was like, that's disgusting. But the interesting thing that I was thinking a lot about, I think when we were talking about, we brought up briefly Other M and maybe Dread. But like a thing that I really didn't like in Other M was like its reliance on quick time events. But like for whatever reason, the like headspace I've been in like playing Bloodborne, which is really counter heavy and really like you just have to know the tells of like when you can like parry an attack and like start your like counter attack on it, and like watching this person do like this boss, like the final boss of Metroid Dread, and just like nailing every single counter, which is arguably a quick time event, but it's like you see a shiny like movement of an attack, and you know that's when you have to hit like the melee
trigger almost.
Hit the melee counter button, and it's like, oh yeah, that's basically just parrying in like a Souls game. Like you just learn the tell and then you do it. And I was like, and when I had like that frame of mind, I was like, all right, I guess I don't dislike it then. Like it's not like I was trying to figure out why I liked it more than in Other M, but at the same time still wasn't fully on board, and I couldn't figure out what the hump was. And it's like maybe just being like, all right, like you learn the tells of a boss, and when they expose their weak point, you do massive damage. That's how all bosses work.
And that's even in general, even if they don't have that kind of like parry mechanic in general, just waiting for their time where it's like, okay, now like this is dodge mode, and then now it's attack mode. Yeah,
and it gives you like one extra step of like you don't have to parry it, you can just dodge it, but it makes the rest of the battle longer and harder.
Yeah, rewards you a little bit for learning an easier battle if you get it.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's interesting, and especially I'll save the rest for the mechanic.
It does feel, one last thought, I guess, but it does feel a little like out of place in a Metroid game, though. It like, even though I enjoy that type of mechanic, like Metroid just tends to have more of like that slower, methodical pace to it, that it just like, which there's an element to that that's methodical, but it's like, I don't know. I know you're like the speed run Metroid master, but like not necessarily you doing them, but like
I'm gonna save it for the cast.
yeah, seriously, we got a good chunk in there. Yeah, I don't know. Do you want to just talk like some Metroidvania random stuff, and then like I'll talk some like mobile game stuff?
Yeah.
And honestly, I mean, I feel like there's probably even that can only be like I don't even need to talk about that unless like I feel like there's enough meat on the bone with the Metroidvania stuff potentially.
Yeah, we'll see.
Played a little Minish Cap. Like I was saying, I actually just played like another 5 or 6 minutes of that before we hopped on because I played it. Since this probably won't go, we probably won't talk about this game on the podcast because I only played maybe 10 minutes of it, maybe 15. But I bought this game on Game Boy Advance in like the days when I was like not just started, but like really started getting into collecting when I was like working at Best Buy right after or whatever. So I was like ordering games on eBay, and I got this like in the pictures, mint condition. Legend of Zelda Minish Cap, whatever, and it was in mint condition, and then this guy sends it in a fucking padded envelope, and it comes all smashed. And so I like, I was messaging him. I'm like, hey man, this is like supposed to be mint condition. You sent me this smash box.
Yeah.
Like what the hell? And he's like, oh, you didn't say you were a collector. If you would have mentioned that, I would have flat packed it, and that like because some people like break them down and like put them in like still send it in that. But I was like, dude, if you're advertising it as mint condition, then you put it in a fucking box or you do something to protect it.
Yeah. I was
so mad, but I was like, I'm not going to give this guy a negative review because he's got like however many thousands and it's not going to even make a dent. And I have only a couple dozen. And I'm sure he'll hit me back with a negative one, and then I'll not be able to sell anything on eBay.
Yeah.
So I was like, this just fucking sucks. Now I just have a smashed up copy of. It's not even that smashed that bad, but. When all your other boxes are literally in perfect condition.
Bayonetta.
Like, come on. Bayonetta? Oh, yeah, with my little tear. I was thinking of the Bayonetta 2 on Wii U. I was like, no, that's in pretty good shape. Crazy to me that they have released Bayonetta 1, 2, and 3 all like individually as $60 games on Switch.
Yep.
When Bayonetta 2, when they released it on Wii U, it was $60 and it came with Bayonetta 1.
I think they did a similar thing as well because I think I bought Bayonetta 2 and then I got a digital copy of Bayonetta 1 on Switch.
Oh, interesting.
I'm fairly certain.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So I think they did the same thing because like that's what the Wii U one was like. They did have like, here's just Bayonetta 1 with it.
Yeah. Maybe you're right. Maybe it came with the download. And maybe they just have actually released like a physical copy of Bayonetta 1 as well. So you can like, if you want to buy all, have all 3 on your shelf.
Right.
I never really played much of those. Actually, Katie's brother bought me Bayonetta 2 like out of the blue. He was like, just because when it came out, he was like, this game looks sweet, and he's like, you're the only person I know who has a Wii U. So he was like, and it was an exclusive at the time. So he was like, I just had to buy it for somebody. I was like, that's awesome. That was a pretty cool move, I thought.
I liked Bayonetta 1. It was fun. It's like the Platinum games have they have a really satisfying control schemes, but like
they're smooth.
But the games themselves never really like stand out to me as like something that was super great. I think like because
they're a little shallow. Like Nier Automata is like the only one that's not
right.
To me.
And I need to go back to that. I need to finish Nier Automata.
I was just thinking that too when I was pulling out my PS4 games. Yeah, what have the stuff that I wrote down, I'm obviously not going to talk about all this stuff, but I got a couple like kind of platformers that I could theoretically talk about. That game Monimals, I tabled it for a while, but I don't think it sounds like Randall's playing it anytime soon. So I was like, I was kind of like half tabling it for like, oh, it's not, because he like right away when I told him it was on sale, he's like, oh, I nabbed it, and I was like, oh, maybe he's gonna like play it right away. But I should have known better. In my head, because it's a digital game, I was like, maybe he doesn't have to actually unwrap it. Maybe
that's what will make him play it, or make him put it on a shelf.
Exactly. But I'm the same way. I can't tell you how many games I download. Like, the other game was this game Tinykin that I think I played a little bit on Xbox Game Pass originally, and then bought it on Switch on sale and finally checked it out a little bit. It's like a 3D platformer meets Pikmin. It's freaking awesome. I played like the first hour or so of it on stream the other day, and I was like, this game fucking rules, man. It kind of reminds me of like Toy Commander on Dreamcast, or like any of those games where you're like a tiny, person in like a house. Like the level was just like a room in a house. It was so sweet.
Nice.
But then Metroid Prime Remastered, and then I was kind of on like a little bit of like a mobile game kick after I bought like the Monument Valley Panoramic Collection.
Nice.
I played a little bit of Monument Valley, and then I was like, you know what? I was like, I forgot that there's like actually some like mobile games, and I forgot that like Super Mario Run was like a free game. I thought you had to buy it. So I was like, I'll check that out real quick, which I only played a little bit of it. And then I played a little bit of Lara Croft Go as well, which is actually pretty cool. So I could actually kind of talk about like some mobile stuff.
Yeah.
As well. Like I'd probably table Monimals and Tinykin for now. So I'll probably Tinykin's the first game in a while, I'll say though, that I like booted up. And like after playing about an hour or so, and I always want to play more of these games, but there's a bigger part of my brain that wants to play a new game and find something, a new experience that's fresh once I kind of get the gist of something or feel like I do anyways. I'm sure they add new things to these games that I, don't play enough of as the game goes on. But like, that's the first one in a while where I was like, man, I really want to play more of this one. Like, honestly, even if my back wasn't like hurting at that point, I would have just kept going. On the stream, I might have played something like short and sweet after that, but that game is just, it's so good. Like I really can't. It's from the same people that made that game Splasher. It's like a 2D, side scrolling kind of precision platformer with like a little bit of light physics. Kind of looks almost like a little bit like a souped up Flash game, but like but nicer than that. That almost sounds like I'm dissing on it, but it kind of reminds me of like, do you ever play that like Fancy Pants Adventures?
No.
Back in the day, I think they re-released that on Steam or like remastered it or something in the recent past. But
is it like an edutainment game or?
No, it's like just kind of like a speedy, Sonic inspired platformer that I remember playing on like computers and like, school back in the day.
What the no, I never. Was this a Flash game?
I don't know for sure if it was, but I feel like I played it in like a web browser. Probably not the version that you're looking at. They probably like cleaned it up, but it looked nice as heck. Or maybe it was like a WiiWare game or something. I don't know. It was like a long time ago.
There's a bunch of different releases, and it goes from like what I'm trying to find like Kongregate. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. That rings a bell as like that was like some kind of like free to play Newgrounds-esque Portal or something.
I gotta see if there are certain Kongregate games that like wow. There was $9 million of capital investments from such people as Jeff Bezos.
In Kongregate?
In 2008. So
wow,
like,
still though,
this is so interesting. And Zynga, yeah, like this was a weird time in like game development,
big time.
Because like people didn't. It's so weird. Of like, oh, of course, and then they got into NFTs. But like Flash games,
glad that kind of fizzled out. I know it still exists, but like I don't hear people really talking about it anymore.
Thank God.
Yeah.
But yeah, like Flash games, Shockwave. I guess that's still Flash.
I don't even. Yeah. Okay. I was like, I don't even know if I know what that is.
Oh yeah, one last thing for the for the save it for the cast is just Rusty's retirement. What a delightful little like mini browser idler. Like I'd been doing that a bunch while we've like after when we're done recording, like I'll just boot up Steam and just be like, all right, and Rusty's retirement, and let you go. And it's just cute and fun. What a delightful little thing.
I've been seeing a lot more games like that where it's like, just do this on the bottom of your screen or do this off in the corner. I've been seeing that like a ton lately, which is cool. Like if I was especially if I was somebody that like, I guess I mean, I do work at a computer, but not like when I'm at work, I'm not like just going to boot up an idle game on a work computer.
Right.
But like if I worked from home or if I like did more, I just like, I don't know, like when I'm doing pixel stuff, I'm like just trying to plow through it and like get everything uploaded. And I'm like too busy while I'm doing that. I feel like to do something like that on the side, like I'd get too sidetracked.
Yeah.
But I like the concept of it. Like, oh, let me just have this game on. Especially like it would be perfect for when I'm at work. Like, especially like like on Mondays, the last 2 hours of my day, like one person leaves at 3 who works the phones. So I kind of like cover the last couple hours, like just working the phones. So I'm like, I don't like to really be doing anything else because I don't like to like be in the middle of something and get interrupted. And I just don't like to work like that. So I just get everything done I need to, so I don't have to, keep working. Mm-hmm. So then I'm just like, okay, that'd be awesome to have like a little game like that open on the side. And then like, oh, let me just let it be. Or I'm sure you can pause it in some way as well. And just, okay, or close it out. Oh, phone call coming in. Let me X out for a minute. Be perfect. God, that would be fucking perfect.